The Miller family Christmas dinner was in full swing when the mocking started. Like clockwork, right after Dad carved the turkey and before Mom served her famous apple pie. "So, Emma," my brother Michael smirked from across the table, adjusting his vice president pin from Sterling Technologies, "still playing entrepreneur with that little app of yours?" Mom laughed, passing the cranberry sauce. "Oh, Michael, be nice. Not everyone can handle the corporate world like you and your father." I pushed my peas around my plate, thinking about the acquisition papers sitting in my briefcase. The ones that would make me majority owner of Sterling Technologies, the company where Dad and Michael had worked for 20 years, climbing the corporate ladder one brown-nosing session at a time. "Did you hear?" Dad beamed at Michael. "The CEO's considering him for the executive board. Youngest member in Sterling's history." "That's wonderful, honey." Mom gushed. "Much better than wasting time on risky startups." By risky startups, they meant my company, SecureFlow, the cybersecurity firm I'd built from scratch while they were busy bragging about Michael's corner office. "How many employees do you have now, Emma?" And Sarah asked, trying to be kind. "Still just you and that college friend?" "Actually, I started." "She's got 3 whole people now," Michael interrupted. "A real business empire." They all laughed, except for my cousin Kate, who was typing furiously on her phone under the table. As head of IT at Sterling, she was one of the few who knew what was really happening. "You should come work for Sterling," Dad suggested, not for the first time. "We could find you something appropriate. Maybe in customer service." I checked my watch. In exactly 10 minutes, Sterling's CEO Edward Thompson would arrive. Not for Christmas dinner, but to announce the company's new ownership structure. Speaking of Sterling, Michael raised his wine glass. "Wait until you hear about my latest project. We're completely revamping our security systems." My idea, of course. I bit back a smile. The revamp was actually my company's software, purchased through a series of shell corporations to hide my involvement. Sterling's entire digital infrastructure now ran on SecureFlow's technology. "Emma's still single too," Mom stage whispered to Aunt Sarah. "Too busy with her little business to date. Not like Michael and Jessica." She nodded toward Michael's wife, who was showing off her enormous engagement ring. My phone buzzed, a text from Edward, "Outside your parents' house. Ready when you are." "Did you see the company stocks?" Dad bragged. "Up 40% since implementing Michael's security initiative." Actually, Sterling's stock had skyrocketed because of my software. The same software Michael had dismissed as amateur 3 years ago when I tried to pitch it to Sterling directly. The doorbell rang. Who could that be? Mom frowned. "Everyone's here." "I'll get it." I stood up, straightening my blazer. "I'm actually expecting someone." "On Christmas." Michael scoffed. "What, did one of your 3 employees need help turning on their computer?" I opened the door to find Edward Thompson, CEO of Sterling Technologies, standing on the porch with acquisition papers in hand. "Ready to shock your family?" he whispered. I thought about every dismissive comment, every condescending smile, every time they'd praised Michael's mediocrity while mocking my ambition. "Merry Christmas," I smiled, leading him toward the dining room. "Time to unwrap my present to the family." "Everyone," I announced, returning to the dining room with Edward Thompson, "look who stopped by." The clatter of silverware stopped abruptly. Dad's fork dropped onto his plate. Michael choked on his wine. "Mr. Thompson." Dad scrambled to his feet, nearly knocking over the gravy boat. We weren't expecting." "Sit please," Edward smiled, taking the empty seat beside me. "This isn't a formal visit. Though it is about business." Mom rushed to offer him pie, her hands trembling slightly. Having the CEO at her Christmas dinner was probably the highlight of her social calendar. "I assume you've all heard about Sterling's recent transformation," Edward began, declining the pie. "The new security infrastructure that's revolutionized our operations?" "Pie project." Michael jumped in, puffing up his chest. "I led that entire initiative." I caught Kate hiding a smile behind her napkin. She'd been my inside contact throughout the acquisition, helping me navigate Sterling's bureaucracy while maintaining my anonymity. "Actually, Michael," Edward corrected gently, "you were just the face of the project. The real architecture came from a company called SecureFlow." "Never heard of them," Michael dismissed. Must be one of our minor suppliers. Dad nodded in agreement. Sterling only works with major players in the industry. Really? Edward raised an eyebrow. That's interesting because SecureFlow now owns 60% of Sterling Technologies. The silence that followed was deafening. Mom's Pi server clattered to the floor. That's impossible, Dad sputtered. We would have known about any major ownership changes. Would you? Edward smiled. Like you knew about the shell corporations buying up shares over the past year? Or the anonymous investor acquiring controlling interest in your pension fund? Michael's face had gone from smug to pale. But I'm up for the executive board. About that, Edward pulled out a folder. The board appointments will now be handled by our new majority partner. Speaking of whom, he turned to me. Emma, would you like to share your news? I stood up, enjoying how Michael's wine glass froze halfway to his mouth. Remember that tiny startup you've been mocking? I smiled at my family. It turns out 3 employees can accomplish quite a lot with the right technology. Especially when that technology saves Fortune 500 companies billions in security costs. You. Mom whispered. But you're just what, Mom? Just a small business owner? Just plain entrepreneur. I pulled out my own folder. The complete record of SecureFlow's growth and Sterling's acquisition. Or just the woman who now controls Dad and Michael's company. The turkey was definitely getting cold, but nobody seemed interested in dinner anymore. Let's review the past 3 years, shall we? I opened my folder, spreading documents across the holiday tablecloth. 2022. I pitched SecureFlow's security system to Sterling. Michael, you called it, and I quote, amateur hour coding from a basement startup. Michael stared at his plate, his executive swagger evaporating. 2023. SecureFlow landed contracts with 3 of Sterling's major competitors. Dad, you told me at that year's Christmas dinner to stop chasing pipe dreams and get a real job like your brother. Dad's face had gone from red to white. 2024. Sterling's outdated security system failed spectacularly, causing a breach that cost the company $300 million. Michael, you were put in charge of finding a solution. Mom, this was when you suggested I apply for a secretarial position at Sterling because, at least it's stable. Mom's hands trembled as she clutched her napkin. And now 2025, I continued, pulling out the final documents. Sterling implements a revolutionary security system that saves billions and sends the stock soaring. Michael takes credit. Dad brags about Michael's genius. And my tiny startup quietly becomes the majority shareholder of the entire company. Edward nodded appreciatively. The board was quite impressed with how you orchestrated the acquisition. Very few people manage to buy a company right out from under its executives' noses. This is a joke, Michael finally sputtered. You can't. You don't. You're my little sister. Your little sister who now controls your career, I corrected. Speaking of which, about that executive board position. Dad found his voice. Now Emma, let's not be hasty. Family is family. Surely we can work something out. Like how you work things out when I needed startup funding? I raised an eyebrow. Or when I asked for introductions to Sterling's tech department. Or when I begged you to just look at my company's proposal. We were trying to protect you, Mom insisted. The business world is harsh. No, Mom. You were protecting Michael. Like always. I pulled out another document. Did you know he actually tried to block SecureFlow's bid when it came through the procurement department? Called it unreliable without even testing the system. Kate spoke up from her end of the table. That's why we had to route everything through shell companies. Michael would have killed the deal if he'd known Emma was behind it. You knew. Michael turned on her, face reddening. You helped her. Of course I helped her, Kate shot back. Unlike you, I actually tested her security system. It's revolutionary. Sterling would have lost billions more without it. About those losses, I interjected, pulling up financial reports on my tablet. The $300 million breach? Turns out it could have been prevented if you'd accepted SecureFlow's original proposal. The board was very interested in that detail. Dad's hand shook as he reached for his wine. What happens now? Now. I smiled. Now we discuss the new corporate structure. Starting with the executive board appointments. Emma, please, Michael began. I've worked so hard for this position. Have you? I projected his performance reviews onto the dining room wall using my phone. Let's see. Missed deadlines, failed projects, security breaches under your watch. The only reason you kept getting promoted was Dad's influence. That influence, I closed the projection, now belongs to me. You can't just take over like this, Mom protested. It's not how things are done. Actually, Edward interrupted, she can. And she did. Quite legally, I might add. The board has already approved all changes. I pulled out a stack of papers. Speaking of changes, let's discuss your new positions. New positions? Michael's voice cracked. Did you think I'd fire you? That would be too easy. I started distributing documents. Michael, you're being transferred to our new digital innovation department. Entry-level position. You'll be reporting to Kate. Kate's surprise turned to a satisfied smile. Dad, you'll retain your position, but all decisions must be approved by the new board. My board. I handed him his new contract. And you'll be required to attend diversity and inclusion training. Weekly. His face flushed, but he stayed silent. As for Sterling itself, I continued, we're implementing immediate changes. Starting with our hiring practices. No more promoting based on family connections or golf club memberships. But tradition. Dad began. Tradition is what almost bankrupted Sterling. I cut him off. The Old Boys Club is officially closed. I stood up, gathering my papers. Oh, and one more thing about those family Christmas dinners. From now on, I expect a bit more respect for tiny startups and their founders. The room remained silent as Edward and I headed for the door. Just before leaving, I turned back. Michael, don't forget the quarterly review next week. I expect a full presentation on your understanding of Secure Flow's security protocols. All 3 employees worked very hard on those. Outside, Edward chuckled. That was quite a Christmas surprise. Indeed, I smiled, looking back at the house where my shell-shocked family sat around their cold turkey. Best gift I've ever given myself. That night, I sat in my home office looking at old family photos. Pictures of Michael's graduation, his promotions, his achievements, all prominently displayed in our parents' house. My college graduation photo was still stuffed in a drawer somewhere. My phone buzzed with messages. Mom, we should talk about this as a family. Dad, surely we can reach some arrangement. Michael, you can't do this to me. I'm your brother. I sent a single reply to their group chat. All business matters can be discussed during office hours. I suggest you prepare for Monday's reorganization meeting. The new owner expects full attendance and participation. Then I turned back to my work. I had a company to run, a culture to change, and a family to teach some long overdue lessons about underestimating their little girl. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't just proving them wrong, it's becoming their boss.